Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's been a pleasure to see all of you over here, all 85 strong people over here, right? Like a strong number over here. And we are all here today because it is the World Suicide Prevention Day. And I'm your MC for today. I'm Terence Hugo. And representing the team of MindMatters Network that all of them has been working so hard the past week to bring you this event. And I truly appreciate all of you over here today. Well done. Well done for turning up. I've heard so many of you making arrangements in between your clubs and even school events and even working engagements to be here with us today. So first and foremost, I have a few things to share with you. Number one is, of course, remember to rename your Zoom name, right? Meaning you put your name underscore your organization. Which organization are you from? Are you from IMU? Are you from MMOF? Are you from SERGI? Are you from ATC? Right? Rename your Zoom name. And do you have the Zoom background? Can you see all this beautiful Zoom background over here? You can have that too. And I think our chat box team has posted the background over here earlier. Saida, our facilitator Saida has posted it, the virtual background. You can have a change of that so that we can have a better group photo later. And I would like to also share something from the administration team is that there is a attendance form, right, for you to sign up to prove that you are here today, for you to put in your questions and what you have learned. So our team will share the form at the chat box very soon. Okay, just to ensure everyone is present. If you are here right now and if you can hear me, comment one. Comment one if you are here. I know it's after lunch. If you are here, comment one. There you go. Sarah, Daryl, Dr. George, Jasmine, Sri Kumar, Vincent, Jamin, Asma. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Thank you to the tag, Joshua. Let's see a few more ground rules over here. Make sure you keep your mic muted. If you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat box and we will compile your questions later to be answered by our fellow speakers. Okay. Joshua, can we have the next slide, please? With this, a very quick introduction about what is MindMatters Network. This is something that has been conceptualized since last year, and over the past few webinars and mini activities, we are finally coming together. It's basically a group of like-minded youth coming together for the mental health cause, whether it's from awareness, early intervention, and engagement. This is the reason why we are here. And if you are keen to be part of the team, you know, later we will have Sharada to introduce to you all. No hurry. We'll tell you how to get in and be part of the team. And our goal is very simple. Imagine if there is a MindMatters affiliated club in every school across Malaysia. Just imagine, just the primary and secondary school in Malaysia alone. Total 10,000. We haven't even put in the universities and the colleges. Such a possible impact that can be achieved if we fellow youth bond together for this very important cause. Next, please. Okay, now I would like to introduce a very important person. Personally, I've only met our VIP about the mid of last year, right? It was at this discourse where our VIP over here, our guest of honor over here, actually share about 8 proposals for mental well-being. And that led to the founding of the National Coalition for Mental Well-being. Personally, she is also the district governor for Rotary District 3300. And over the past year, a lot of hard work has been done to set the foundation for the National Coalition. And I think many of you have known us, not just through MindMatters alone, but also some of you, I've met you all before from the National Coalition's webinar, and I appreciate your presence. With this, I would like to urge all of you to give a round of applause to our guest of honors today, Datuk Bindi Rajasegaran. Datuk, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Terence, for the kind words. Moderators, Terence, Hugo, and Sharina, the team of MindMatters Network, and all the participants here this afternoon. A very good afternoon to all of you. And I must mention here the dedication of Terence and Sharda, who have diligently pursued this agenda for a long time. And today we see the results. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed speakers today, Professor Dr. Philip George, Professor Dr. Elvin, Mr. Justin Victor, Associate Professor Dr. Andrew Mohanraj, who have all been assisting us greatly in our agenda in the National Coalition for Mental Wellbeing. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Pro Tem Chairman of the National Coalition for Mental Wellbeing, past Governor Siti Zubaida. So friends, this is the much anticipated program from the MindMatters Network. And finally, it's a reality today and aptly coinciding on a day dedicated to World Suicide Day recognized by the United Nations. Now, our emphasis is on youth. Why youth? Because we believe that the youth must be empowered with resources and knowledge to transform their consciousness to be stronger, to be able to handle the ever-changing challenges in the environment around us. Awareness is a key factor for this empowerment, with guidance towards developing a wholesome outlook of life. Youth empowerment in any development is imperative not only for national development of an entire country, but also for personal development of an individual. And with this knowledge, you will be able to better chart your destinies using your beliefs, attitudes, and values. I wish everyone an enlightening 2 days of discussion on a very sensitive issue. Suicides should not happen. Thank you, my friends, and do stay safe and in good health always. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you to our guest of honor, Datuk Bindi, for the enlightening speech. Indeed, today is a very important cause that we are here all being present here. In the first 5 months of 2021 alone, there has been close to 500 suicides, just half a year, in comparison to about 600 suicides last year. And we know that this is getting alarming, and Befrienders alone has recorded over 32,000 calls last year. And that's the reason why we appreciate our guests of honor and our fellow speakers who all came together the past week for this very important day. With this, once again, please give a round of applause to Datuk Bindi Rajasegaran. Thank you, Datuk. Okay, next up, I would like to bring on something that has really connected with the youth last year. It is, in fact, what you all know, which is the My Mind on Film, making short films on the topic of mental health to connect and build awareness among the youth. I would also like to mention that throughout the whole event, we have assigned a safety officer. If at any point of time, if you feel uncomfortable or if you need someone to speak to, we have a safety officer assigned. You can always message me or any one of our facilitators here. You can see their Zoom name with the back handle of MMN. You can message us and we can share with you the contact of the safety officer. Okay, so next up, our tag team Joshua will put on a film, a short film by Mind on Film called The Suicide Game. Please.
What's your emergency? Hello? Hello, is anyone there? Hello, if you are listening to this, you can answer. Sir? Miss? Hello, this is the Befrienders. Is anyone there? We are here to help you.
Yes, come in.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ahmad. Happy birthday to you. Here's your present.
Oh, this is my
Happy
first
birthday.
present to you.
Okay, well, I hope you like it.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Alright, come on, make a wish.
Yeah.
I wish to be dead.
Some say it's inheritable. Some say it's all just an act. Some call it a simple sadness. but they don't know that this thing has been living inside of us. Like a dark storm brewing under the surface, hiding underneath, slowly waiting to pull us under. Do you know? Sometimes the author could have ended their sentence, but chose not to. What will they do? Semicolon. They use the semicolon. The author is you, and the sentence is your life. How long do you think you can survive before you become a victim? I hope you are strong enough to fight this, because semicolon is better than a full stop.
I think someone jumped off from a building. There's a lady in yellow. She's covered in full blood. I don't think so she's alive. Can you please call ambulance right now?
And she was very mean. You guys seem very warmed up. I'm gonna introduce our last act of the night. Are we ready? Introducing the one, the only, Shiva!
It's actually my birthday today. It is, and thanks. I'm excited. So as I was about to blow the candle, someone told me to make a wish, and I wanted to wish that I was dead. But then again, I had a better wish. So I wish I didn't have to buy my own fucking birthday cake. Guys, do you know what's the difference between a calendar and a lonely person? What? A calendar can't hang itself.
The question is, how long can you stay as a survivor of this suicide game?
I'm here alone again today, just like my ordinary day. No one can help me, no one could please me anymore. But I know, and I hope that the sun will rise and shine again.
Wow, that's quite a film, isn't it? Okay, if you guys enjoyed the film and found it to be meaningful, do give us a heart emoji. Yeah, let's try out the Zoom heart emoji if you love the film. Yes, Yanqing, exactly. Ashley, Saida, fantastic. Keep the hearts coming, right? Because the filmmaker is with us here today, right? Let's give her some show of love, right? There you go, there you go. Yeah, I'm calling you up, filmmaker. Okay, all right. So please put your hands together for the person who make this happen, right? To the filmmaker, Chantiriga, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Hugo. And first of all, I'd like to also say my thank you on behalf of my team, my whole production team, to the MMN organization and also the entire event team for the screening of our short film. So thank you. And also with me here today is my assistant director, Ruchira, and also one of the cast member, Harish. So yeah. And hi everyone, my name is Chan. I'm the director and also the script writer of this short film, The Suicide Game. And a little on the content of this film. So majoring in the field of production and also the media industry, it is known to me and my team on how impactful the role of media could hold in delivering a certain content. You know, the movies, songs, and also other artworks, they are indeed a very powerful tool in generating a certain social awareness that the director and the script writer would want to deliver to the society. So through this film, which was made by me and my team, rather than just emphasize on having a good content, also visual, we believe on the importance of making meaningful content to the audience, where I hope that this film could at least be a slight of support to those who might need them. So through this short film as a filmmaker, and I aim to portray on a few of the many sides of depression and also the other suppressed negative feelings and emotion that we as audience may have experienced it. So there may be times where we feel depressed, anxious, lonely, or sad. And you know, we all have a different way of coping with all those emotions, like same as the character in this short film, where each of them shows a different coping style and have a different support system in dealing with all those stressor. And it eventually lead to each of them in taking a different decision to fight those negative emotions. And I believe that all of us will be able to also fight if we ever encounter with any of those negative emotion. So for some people, this may just be another video that they may have watched, but for some it may be something which they could relate, whether it's a connection to the character as it portrays the battle they have been fighting within themselves, or maybe the character symbolizes their loved one. But thank you. But overall, the message which this short film wish to deliver is, you know, by just admitting that, no, I'm not feeling okay, or I'm not feeling good today, and acknowledging that yes, I might need some additional support to help me get a little much better. You know, that's already a first step towards you getting stronger in fighting all those depressive thoughts that you might be holding on to. And you know, you also never know that how much your presence or also your act of kindness could play a role in changing someone's bad day to at least a not so bad day. So you know, if you notice the change of someone, it could be your close friend, a family member, or maybe your colleague or the auntie who always sell you that nasi lemak, you know, in front of your college. You know, an act of kindness could do wonder to someone who's in that vulnerable state of condition. And everyone deserves help no matter what. And if you are in a condition that able you to help that someone who might need that sort of support, especially during this pandemic time because COVID sucks. So why not be that source of hope through your action of kindness? Because when feeling of being hopeless become overwhelmed, it's time to finally talk about it, because suicide prevention matters a lot. So go around and spread that love, everyone. And welcome to today's event, and I hope you guys have a nice day ahead. And if my teammates, Ruchira, yeah, I believe she has something to add on as well.
Not really, but since you asked, I'll speak a little bit. Hi everybody, I'm Ruchira. I was Chan's AD. And yeah, I mean, I've known Chan for many years, even prior to making the film. So she and I had many personal conversations that when she showed me the script, like, it wasn't surprising that this was a topic. So I think because we had previous conversations, we were able to collaborate very easily. And right now because I'm in grad school now, I was talking to a teacher about another script I was working on about somebody who's suicidal. And he brought up a really interesting point about how nobody cares until after you're dead. You know what I mean? Like after the person has committed suicide, then they're like, oh, they should have said something. But when it's actually happening, nobody really makes that much of an effort. And I don't know, I think my goal as a creative person has always been to be kind of political. And I think I'm really happy with this film because I feel like it's going to outlive both of us. You know what I mean? Like the topic is always going to be there and the topic is important. So yeah, I'm glad that it's been well received and we're allowed to come here and talk about it. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again to Chan and Ruchira. Very beautifully said. And I would like to quote Dr. Josh. Absolutely right, and a great message. An amazing short movie. Kala Devi, congratulations. And Datuk Bindi, that was a very brave and poignant short film. Well done, Chan and team. Once again, thank you, thank you. That was an amazing film. And I hope to see more of such films, because you know what better ways to convey the message and to spread awareness, you know, than in the video format, right? We have to try all formats of engagement, right? We have been writing essays, blog posts, Instagram captions, and then we move from text to pictures and pictures to moving pictures, right? I think that's definitely the way to go. With that said, I have another very important person I would like to bring on screen. Everyone, please put your hands together for our Mind on Film representative, Anusha. Anu, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Before I continue, I just want to say thank you to MindMatters Network for giving me this opportunity to speak at such a meaningful event. I definitely resonate with what has been said, especially about mental health representation in media. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Anusha, project co-lead for My Mind on Film, Malaysia's first ever youth mental health short film festival. My Mind on Film is a project central to the Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing's commitment to engaging with young people, hearing their voices, and working together for progress. It combines emphases on inspiration, expression, understanding, and stigma reduction with a focus on the Malaysian context. My Mind on Film started not long ago in August 2020 and is now already back for its second season with the theme of Heart and Mind. So in addition to the actual film festival competition that we have scheduled for the end of this year, we've got plenty of exciting events lined up and we hope to see you there. In fact, our next event will be a film screening in collaboration with Nyawa organization on the 25th of September. So if you're interested in that, do follow our Instagram page at mymindonfilm.my for updates and more information on how you can join our events or even submit a film. Feel free to email us if you have any questions. You can find a pamphlet with all the relevant details and links in the chat box, along with more information on the film festival competition. My fellow team member Dash will be sending that as I speak. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you for being with us as well, Anusha. So I would like to give a shout out to My Mind on Film. If you are interested to be part of a Laya Perak, Let Day Be Light, do know that you can find the information you need at the chat box right now. And once again, please give a clap reaction to our speakers and all this beautiful sharing up until now. Yeah, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. Right? Yes. And there's just so much to say, right? And I've been reading all your responses before you join, why you want to be here, what you hope to learn from here. And I have to say, MindMatters Network team is so touched by all your encouraging response. And all this happened in less than a week. In less than a week, truly amazing. I look at all the things that you want to learn about, how you want to support people, you want to learn skills, you want to understand more, you want to be brave enough. And that's exactly what you will learn in these 2 days, right? Just like a broad overview of what to expect, right? You have been graced by a short film. And going forward, we'll be playing games. We'll be playing Kahoot games together, learn as we play. We'll be learning about suicidal behavior and what are the best responses. And all these are happening on day 1 itself, right? And on day 2, something equally interesting would happen. Many times in webinar, it is a one-way knowledge transfer. But this time you have the opportunity to participate in a role play, right? You can join us for a role play. Learn how to actually apply your skill set. So that is something you should really look forward for. Now, I have a new team member to introduce to you all. She is from MindMatters Network as well. She is currently our head of events, and it has been a blast working with her. Amazing team. She is the vice president of IMU Scholars. Over the years, she has been handling projects on sign language, on sexual health awareness, and she herself is an aspiring clinical psychologist. Without further ado, please put your hands for Sharina. Sharina, are you in the house?
Yes, hi Terence. Thank you so much for the introduction. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay.
Perhaps we can give a spotlight to Chaya. There you go. Floor is yours.
Hi everyone. Hi. So I'm Sharina and I am the moderator for our first segment of the day, which is the Icebreaking Session, the first activity. So I hope all of you are doing well and thank you so much for joining us here today. So in the attendance form earlier, we actually asked you guys 2 questions for you to reflect on. And based on the responses, I'm just reading it off my phone, we can see that a majority of you actually 80% of you have encountered someone with suicidal thoughts or have had suicidal thoughts yourself. So we can see how suicidal thoughts are really prevalent. All of us here have someone we know who have suicidal thoughts, whether it's people around us or whether it's ourselves. And for the second questions, it was really heartwarming to read all of your responses. So the second question again is, how would you respond to a friend who shares their suicidal thoughts? So some of you have said, I would try to calm them down and listen to them. Maybe try asking why they may feel that way without invalidating or encouraging any further ideas of the act. Really nice responses, guys. Thank you so much. Actually, some of you have also mentioned that you don't know, you're not sure what to do, but that's okay. That is what our workshop is for. So yeah, without further ado, let us start with our first activity. Today, we will be debunking some myths through a fun Kahoot game. So we'll be debunking some suicide myths. And joining me here today for this session is Professor Dr. Philip George. Prof. Philip George is an addiction specialist and also a consultant psychiatrist. Hi, Prof. Philip. He's also currently the... Hi. So he's also currently the head of psychiatry at International Medical University, IMU. So the game will have 10 myths. And after each myth, I will invite Prof. Philip to give his input. And I'm sure everyone here can learn a lot from him today. So if at any point you guys have questions for Prof. Philip, just type them in the chat and we will try our best to address them within this time frame. Okay, so let's get on with the Kahoot game. All you need to do is open your Kahoot app on your phone or on your laptop. There's a link in the chat box that Shobana has sent. Yep. So I think, can you guys, are you guys able to see the game pin, Joshua, on the screen? Yep. Okay. So all you need to do is just type in the game pin and then your user. So I'm just waiting. Okay, I see you guys coming in now. Okay, you guys are slowly coming in. I'll just give you about 1 minute. Ah. Okay, the pin number is right on the screen. Yep. I'll just wait a bit more for you guys to join. Keep coming in. Just 1 minute, okay? Okay, since it's stagnant now, I think we can start. Oh, decreased. Okay, we can start now. Okay, first question. Wow, you guys are really fast, okay? Okay, most of you got it correct. Talking about suicide or asking someone if they're suicidal will not encourage suicide attempts. So Prof. Philip, would you like to give some comments about this myth? Why is it important for us to have conversations about suicide?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, actually, Sharina, this is a very important question because even doctors think if they ask about suicide, that it might actually increase the risk of suicide. I mean, I teach my medical students that you have to be comfortable in asking these questions because most of these patients or people with suicidal thoughts are waiting to actually talk about that. And sometimes when they can talk about it to someone that they trust, they actually find some relief. It's not they're looking for you to solve their problems. They need someone to listen about their problem. And they can then maybe look at it at a different perspective by actually talking about it. So it's not true that you're going to increase the risk because it's not like, you know, if you ask them, so you say, oh, I didn't think about that. Let's go try that out. That's not going to happen, right? And people feel relieved when someone actually talks to them. So I'd encourage everyone, if you do suspect and think that someone's at risk, to actually bring it up. You know, and maybe bring it up in a sensitive way, because especially in Malaysia, this is a taboo topic. And so maybe even say, you know, I need to ask you something. I might be, you know, distressing for you or maybe uncomfortable for you, but I'm really worried about you. And I just want to know, do you think you're safe, or do you think that you may actually be at risk of suicide? Yeah? And I think if you do that, you're actually doing, if you call yourself a friend, you're doing a friend a great justice. So yeah, I don't think it'll do anything bad, but in fact, it will actually help your friend or whoever you know to actually reflect and think about it and know that you're there to actually support them as well.
Thank you so much, Prof. Philip. Wonderfully said. So all of us here play a very important role to encourage conversations on suicide. And if you want to know how you can actually play a role in this, make sure you hang in there for our next segments. Okay, so next question. Second. Okay, you guys are really smart. So majority of you answered correct as well. So people who talk about suicide never or rarely attempt or die by suicide. So this is false. I think Prof. Philip, you also covered a bit about this. So Prof. Philip, what does it signify when someone talks about suicide?
Well, you know, in depression, 50% of people with depression experience suicidal thoughts. But that does not necessarily mean that they're all going to, you know, commit suicide. The risk of suicide in depression is about 15 to 20%. But that's a significant risk. I mean, imagine 15% of people dying from a specific illness. I think that's a bigger figure than even COVID. If you have 15% of the population who contract COVID dying from it, then we're in a huge dilemma. So I think it's important to realize that people, when they talk about suicide, it often is true, and it's important not to take it lightly and sort of just ignore it, and that the risk is there.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about suicide is usually a sign for help, and it shouldn't be ignored. So make sure we all here take it very seriously. Next question. Oh, this one was a tricky one. So you guys, we have both answers here. So question 3, suicide attempts or death happen with warnings. The answer is true. They do happen with warnings. Prof. Philip, many might think that suicide attempts are actually an impulsive act, but I'm aware that there are actually different stages of suicide, from suicidal ideation, intent, plans. Maybe you can enlighten us here about the different stages.
Yeah, so usually people may first experience suicidal thoughts, and that can be associated with even self-harm. Later, it may progress on to the next stage of suicidal planning, and that means actually conjuring in their mind things that they will do, maybe their final acts, how they will maybe say goodbye to people that they love and care about, or leave things for the ones that they care about as well. And then planning the final act. Attempts also are an indicator for increased risk of suicide. So most often with suicide attempts, they actually come with this sort of pre-planned events or activities or things. Some have had previous attempts, some have had thoughts or impulsive behaviors, and then they lead on or increase on to coming up with a suicidal plan. Most psychological autopsies that are done post-suicide actually identify that people have given some sort of warning signs to their immediate kin or friends or even the healthcare professionals, but no one took them seriously. So again, this leads back to the first 2 questions, that it's important to talk about it, let people actually express and know that there's help. And then the second, that sometimes it can lead to, outcomes that are not wanted as well.
Very well said, Prof. There's a lot of mental and physical preparation that actually comes beforehand. So we should be on the lookout for these warning signs. Next question. Four more, guys. Come on. Okay. Wow. Okay. Almost all of you got this right. So the question is, once a person is having suicidal thoughts, they will be suicidal forever, and that's false. So they will not always feel suicidal. Prof. Philip, are suicidal thoughts something that comes and goes, or?
Well, I mean, generally, suicide can be something that is built up over time and becomes, reaches a crescendo and reaches a peak. And if people survive that, they can actually maybe re-look at things and find better ways of dealing with what triggered their suicides as well. Many suicide survivors, in fact, we actually have a conference that happens every 2 years once, a suicide prevention conference, where we actually have suicide survivors coming to talk about their experiences and how they actually regret, having gone through that period and are now ready to help others to understand and know that suicide may not be the solution and that there are other things that they can do and find support and help with. A famous person called the Gatekeeper of the Golden Gate Bridge, he actually attempted suicide himself. When he survived, he became a gatekeeper. He would ride his motorbike down the Golden Gate Bridge and watch out for people who were trying to throw themselves off. He has actually helped 500 people survive suicide. And all of them have not, gone back to thinking of it again. I mean, sometimes it doesn't take a professional to do this. It's just somebody who has a heart and empathy and wants to, just be genuinely want to help, and people can change their minds through that.
Wow. Okay, I see some names in the chat. Kevin
Kevin Briggs. Yeah, he was at our
Kevin
conference.
Briggs.
He was at our conference in Sarawak about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Okay, thank you so much for that insight. Okay, I guess we can move on to the next question. We have 5 more to go. Good question. Okay, again, majority of you got this one correct. Most suicides are not caused by a single dramatic and traumatic event. Prof. Philip, anything you would like to add on to this? What are some of the most common risk factors of suicide?
Yeah, so I think one of the most common factors is hopelessness, a sense of hopelessness. And hopelessness, of course, is a very common symptom of major depression, which is often about 60% of the time identified as the cause for suicide. But there's another 40% that is linked to many other factors. In Malaysia, very commonly, one of the factors is crisis and, what you call psychosocial stress. So during the last economic recession that we had in Malaysia, we saw the suicide rates actually almost double or triple. And it was largely financial related. Of course, triggering hopelessness in the people who prior to their attempt, sort of experienced. But it's not a single traumatic event. It's often a combination of many things that build over time. So that plus depression, plus maybe some substance use, plus maybe a breakup in a relationship. So a combination of things are usually what triggers the final, last straw that triggers the suicide.
Thank you for that. So we all learned something today. It's a combination of things that actually lead to suicide. Okay, next question, question 6. I think this one is pretty obvious. Great. Okay, almost there. I'm glad most of you here at least have gotten the message that suicide is in fact preventable. Anything you'd like to add on, Prof. Philip?
Yeah, I used to, for a long time, work on the premise that, mental health is something, or mental illness is something people have to live with and, learn to carry on with life. But when I worked in Australia, we started the recovery movement, meaning everyone can recover. Your level of recovery has to be redefined. That's the only thing that you need to do. And so even with serious mental disorders, recovery is possible. You may not be the same person that you were maybe prior to the illness, but you are in a recovery where you're part of community, you're actually having a good quality of life with whatever resources and everything that you can do. So even suicide is something that people recover from. You can actually recover from that, and you may experience, a life without ever thinking of suicide.
Yep, very well said. We have a comment. Remember, your mental health struggles does not define you. You're capable of overcoming them and regaining your quality of life. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Next question. Okay, 58 of you answered correctly. So people who threaten suicide are not just seeking attention. Prof. Philip, I actually have a question. Sometimes some, if not a lot of people, actually do think about suicide when things get really, really hard. Online especially, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this term, but you see a lot of people who say things like, I want to KMS. KMS is an abbreviation for kill or killing myself. And it has almost become sort of like an everyday conversational term. Sometimes people even use it in a joking manner. So Prof. Philip, how would we differentiate then if these thoughts or words are just jokes, or if we really need to reach out to this person? If we see our friends saying this online, should we approach them or should we not? How do we go about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to take this seriously. It doesn't matter if they, whatever the intentions are, but moment this is expressed, I think we need to show, if we care about the person, that we want to take this seriously and follow up with the right and appropriate questions. There are people who are maybe seeking attention for their stress and they can't cope with something. And maybe the only thing they know is, well, maybe I just need to do something to myself. But, if you ignore it or you say, oh, you just, attention seeking, whatever, then you're not helping the stress go away. You're not actually helping the person to deal with anything. And then it may lead on to even, the hopelessness that we discussed, which then triggers suicide. What's the harm in asking the person, can I help? Is there something you want to share? Everyone goes through stress, and some people find it harder to cope and deal with it. That triggers, things like maybe even talking about suicide. So they are looking for attention from us, and you need to show them that attention, because that can actually prevent and reduce suicide.
Definitely. So again, just like what you said, there's no harm in asking. It's better now than never, right? Never too late.
Yeah.
We actually have a question in the chat box. Maybe we can address that after the game. Okay. So next question. Just 3 more questions, guys. I think Prof. Philip has given this answer already just now.
I hope everyone gets it right.
Yes, guys, make sure you get it right. I hope you all were listening. Okay, that's not too bad. At least it's majority of you, 14 of you. Make sure you guys are listening to Prof. Philip. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to be depressed to have suicidal thoughts. So I think Prof. Philip covered this. Is there anything else you would like to add on?
Well, actually, sometimes in Malaysia, it's a bit more unique. It seems to be the percentage of people, committing suicide with history of depression is little less than universal studies, and psychosocial triggers seem to be more relevant, relationship issues, financial issues. So yeah, I think we need to know that it's not just major depression that triggers suicide. many other stresses and factors may be involved.
Yep. So it's only one of the risk factors that contributes to suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Second last question. Okay, I hope all of you get this one correct, please. Okay, definitely. Pretty obvious answer here. All of us here, me and you, we all play a role in suicide prevention. So maybe Prof. Philip, you can enlighten us a little. So can social support actually help overcome suicidal thoughts when it's already there? Or does it serve as more of like a protective factor to prevent it in the first place?
Well, it actually plays both roles. So prevention and also support in helping people to recover is what social support can do. I mean, our approach in mental health is often a biopsychosocial approach. And it's important to focus on all of it, not just one, because your resources are less, so we're just going to focus only on therapy or maybe only on medication. You need everything to ensure complete recovery. And the social component includes family support, work support, relationship, building up relationships. So all of that also are important and essential for treatment and recovery. But it also plays a huge role in prevention. So the more supported a person feels, because as I mentioned, hopelessness is one of the biggest factors for triggering suicide. The more hope that they have through support from others, the better it is for them to actually figure out their own recovery journey. It's not about you becoming their therapist. It's about you showing them or telling them that I'm with you in your recovery. You can lean on me when you need, because you lean on people too, right? So you need people. We're all social, interactive people. And so we need to be there for others, just like you'll need someone in your life as well.
Very lovely, Prof. Philip. So everyone here, make sure you tell those closest to you that you're here for them. If they ever need anyone to talk to, you'll always be there. Okay, so last question, guys. Finally. Okay, this one is a bit of a tricky question, so it involves stats, so that's understandable. Okay, so it's true that the most common age group to die by suicide in Malaysia are women between 15 and 18. So just pulling up some statistics here. So according to the stats in Malaysia, from 2019 to May 2021, women were 5 times more likely to die by suicide than men. And as high as 60% of these women are aged 15 to 18 years old. Do you have anything at all to comment on this, Prof? Why do you think maybe that women, especially young women, are most likely to die by suicide?
Well, first of all, the age group is something similar throughout Asia Pacific region. We know that the second most common cause of death in the Asia Pacific region, of course, the first is motor vehicle accident, but for youth, the second most common cause of death is suicide. So yeah, I think we can expect that that'll be high, in terms of demographics. But why women? Now that's something that's unusual, because in most other parts of the world, men or males are more suicide completers, and women are maybe, self-harm, or as I think Ashini mentioned earlier, parasuicide. But we now know that actually in some Asian countries and developing countries, women seem to outnumber men. And there could be many cultural factors for this. In the culturally, it may be that women may have more risk of abuse as children. So sexual, physical, psychological abuse victims are often more in female gender, and that experience actually increases the risk of depression and suicide as they age. Second is there may be less community sort of resources available for women, and that may also be an increased risk for suicide as well. So these are postulates. We haven't actually had enough research to show exactly what the factors are, but these are some of the things that I can share.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. It's really interesting to see how it's different for different parts of the world as well. Okay, so that was our last question. Thank you so much, everyone, for engaging with me and Prof. Philip for this session. Okay, so congratulations to Yan Ching. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Second place is Q, and first place is Ash from ISKL. Congratulations to you guys. Okay, thank you, Yan Ching. Okay, so any last words, Prof. Philip?
Yeah, no,
Just
I
to
wanted to
summarize?
answer that question earlier. I think there was a question about what's the difference between suicide and parasuicide. So this is more of a psychiatric terminology. Of course, suicide, I think, is what we've been discussing in this Kahoot game, but parasuicide is often cry for help. And so it may not necessarily be people actually hoping to, end it all. Just give you an example, a patient that I had consumed paraquat because she found out that her boyfriend was having an affair. She actually intended for her boyfriend to come to be with her because, she thought if she did this and she was sick, then he'd be with her, right? He did come, and he did, confess that he loved her more, and he was not going to be disloyal, etc. But she chose the wrong thing to use. Paraquat is lethal. She succumbed and passed away. She was hoping to survive, and she was begging with us, "I want to be my boyfriend. I want to survive." So yeah, parasuicide is just as dangerous as suicide, because sometimes the attempts and the methods can be actually quite lethal, and sometimes it actually can have physical consequences as well. So it is a condition that requires intervention and support as well.
Thank you so much, Prof. Philip, for your insight. So I'm aware that there are some questions in the chat, but I'm afraid that we don't have time to address them here. So maybe we might look into addressing them tomorrow, or maybe if Prof. Philip is free, you can just reply them in the chat box, maybe, if you'd like, of course. So
okay. I can maybe send an email reply. I'm going to start my clinic now, so maybe I'll send a reply later. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe you can compile the questions for you. Okay.
Lovely.
So thank you so much, Prof. Philip, for all of your
Thank you.
wonderful insights. We are so honored to have had you for this session. I'm sure all of our participants here have learned a lot from you through our Kahoot game. Hopefully, we can all correct our misconceptions about suicide to reduce the harmful stigma. So that will be all for this session. Thank you so much, Prof. Philip, and thank you, everyone.
Sharina. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shayada.
Thank
Okay, bye.
Passing it back to you, Terence.
Hello, and thank you to our moderator, Sharina, and Dr. Philip Josh. It's been a very educational session, and I'm sure it's pretty fun as well. And this is the kind of format that we look forward to bring more, to our fellow youth, right? So that we can play and we can engage and interact while we learn something new. And I'm also aware of the many questions that you might have that you want to ask. No worries, feel free to always post it in the chat box. Our facilitators are in fact compiling them so that we can answer them maybe by email or at our tomorrow's session, where we'll go into detail on a lot more of your questions over here, right? I'm seeing like how to deal with grief, how to support, right? Okay, I would like to give a quick shout out to the chairperson for the National Coalition for Mental Wellbeing, who is with us since the beginning, PDG Siti Zubaida. Thank you for being with us here today. We appreciate your presence. Okay, right now is the time that you all are waiting for.
Thank you,
It's
Hugo.
photo
Sorry. I just wanted to say thank you, Terence, and welcome everybody, and enjoyed the session this morning. A very great start.
Thank you, PDG City. Thank you for joining us. And do remember, you can follow the National Coalition for Mental Wellbeing at Mental Wellbeing My. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, there you go at the chat box. Right, do remember to give a like and give a follow. Okay, next up, group photo session. Okay, here's what we need you all to do, right? First, turn on your camera, make sure your hair is right, your smile is bright, and change the Zoom background. Facilitators, can we have the Zoom background again? Maybe you can post in the chat box again. Thank you. Okay, let me go to gallery view so that I can see all of you. Okay, I can see Shabana, Shavina is here, Saida is here. Okay, there you go, people. Turn on your camera. Yeah, so that we can screenshot this for Instagram. We will tag you later. Remember to follow us at MindMatters My. We will post your photos, say, on Sunday evening, Monday afternoon, right? Okay, so that's where you're going to find your photos, right? Okay, Macy is here, Hamdi, Shansa, Lim Yue, Cheryl, Anusha. Hi, Anusha. Yanqing is here.
Looks like everyone needs a bit more time to get themselves ready. So how about maybe we go on with our next session and we give everyone that time to quickly comb your hair, get ready to get in front of the camera. In the meantime, let's get started with the next session first. What do you say, Terence? Looks like
Sure,
everyone
why
needs
not?
more time. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I would like to introduce our incoming speaker. He is none other than the chairman of Befrienders. He is part of the National Advisory Council for Promotion of Mental Health with the Ministry of Health Malaysia. He's a senior lecturer and the program director for the School of Communications for Taylor's Lakeside campus. And the person is right on screen right now. Please put your hands together for Mr. Justin Victor.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Can I start already? Yeah.
Please, sir.
Do I have sharing permission? Yes, I do. Okay, great. Yeah, first of all, congratulations to the MindMatters Network. Excellent job putting this together. Fantastic. Looks like a great program. And of course, hats off for moderator Sharina just now. Upcoming Oprah Winfrey, I think. Very good. Very well done. Yeah. Okay, I've got little time, so let me just get straight to it. I think Professor Philip really did a good start to it by a lot of the comments he made on the quiz. But so my focus really is just about how we would speak or talk to somebody who's suicidal. But before I go to that, I just wanted to say a bit of understanding what is suicide about. Excuse me, sorry. It's about pain, largely psychological, emotional pain, and how someone feels. So often enough, these words that are going to come up and these ideas of understanding what a person is will give you the vocabulary, if you think of it, of what to say or what to bring up in that conversation, even when somebody doesn't tell you that. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this, actually, not really for you to understand further about suicide. There's a sense of loneliness and isolation. So in the conversation when you're speaking, that must make you feel really very alone. Something like that can come up because the person is going through this kind of thoughts, maybe feeling that hopelessness and despair. So then you can bring up in the conversation that maybe, you know, what's going on with you makes you feel like you really cannot do anything and there's no hope. Then makes the person understand themselves a little better. Dying as a solution and relief. So often enough, people just don't want to die for the sake of dying. They want to die to get out of something, to be released of the pain or the terrible situation that they are facing at the current moment. But is it that they have no liking of their whole life in the future, etc.? Maybe not. You know? So just to keep that in mind. So it's largely about wanting to end that pain or cessation of consciousness or escape. So some of the language people use is, they will say, I just want to sleep and don't want to get up. Or I feel I cannot get up or don't want to get up the next day. So you're not, what is it? No, that it is not so much to die, but I just want to end the pain. I want to seize my consciousness. And that's what's going on with them. Overwhelm is a common, obvious one, that so much has come onto them. And the problem is that they have put all of it together at one time, and it's so overwhelmingly pressing on them. Not so much that each one of those individual things are so big that they cannot handle it. Huh? And then, of course, constriction. This is the idea that it's like, you know, someone wearing blinkers, you know, so that means they can't see the other options. They can't see anything else because of the pain, because of the emotional, psychological pain, that their view has become so narrowed or cloudy, if you want. No? Of course, it's not in the normal sense when we say narrow-minded thinking. No, not that, but they are unable to see anything beyond them. So that's where then in some of the conversations that you will go on with them with would be like exploring some options with them, which maybe they did not see. You know? So just a quick stats, you know, we're seeing this for 13 to 17. Just now we saw the suicide rates also. So any of this, if not handled, will go on to become serious problems and could lead to these various things. And later I'll be talking about these three elements and the different kinds of things we have to say and ask for each of them. If anybody's making any comment on the chat or other, sorry to say, I can't see them, and maybe somebody else can take note and give me the question. It's not a problem, but I can't respond to them because I can't see them at the moment. So what are the warning signs? That means, what does a person who's possibly, okay, here, note that, possibly feeling suicidal, not definitively feeling suicidal, even the level of just some thought. So they always will exhibit some kind of behavior elements. Yeah. So one of them would be this one, withdrawn behavior, inability to relate with friends and family. That sort of thing starts to happen with somebody like that. You know, alcoholism. So you're all mostly in the age where, I mean, that's not an unknown thing. Some of you have started to drink with friends maybe, and then it could become a larger reason. So this is where you see somebody binge drinking, you know, a little too much and going overboard. So it's a way to kind of hide some other pain or difficulty. Having anxiety or panic, you know, anxiety attacks, anxiety disorders possibly, or even not even a disorder, but, you know, you say irrational anxiety. You know? And then others are such things as change in personality, showing irritability, pessimism, depression, or apathy. So here, the operative word, the main thing to look for is change. Yeah. So if someone you know is already always an irritable, pessimistic person, and their whole, you know, way of life is like that, then that's different. But if someone who was different before and beginning to show some of these, then that is some sign. Yeah. It maybe behind it is so many things, but a kind of giving up, a kind of negativism, helplessness. Yeah. So then this is the ways that it may come out. Change in eating and sleeping habits. Again, not a change, you know, I'm talking about. Why? You know, because if someone is always a foodie, they'll always be eating. Yeah, and maybe they are big size like me. Yeah? A big size is a nice word for fat. Huh? So anyway, they may be like me, yeah, because I'm a foodie, but doesn't mean that I have any mental, emotional issue that I'm struggling with. But if I wasn't like that before and I start binge eating more, if I wasn't one who sleeps for 10 hours, 12 hours into the midday, then I start doing that now, that would be some of the signs. Earlier suicide attempts is always a big, strong one also. That means, have they tried it before? Have they mentioned it? Have you heard from somebody that they have actually tried to end their life before? Then this can be a problem also, or a concern. Self-hatred, self-guilt, worthlessness, feeling ashamed, all of those can lead to that. And just a few more points, and then we go on to actually how to speak and what to say about it. So maybe they had a recent major loss, death, divorce, parents, and then some Professor Philip mentioned, about I wish I could die. And then, yes, this all of it actually put in one nutshell in one screen. So if you want to take a screenshot or whatever. So these are some of the signs that somebody is going through. If you say, how am I to identify? The question, how am I to know when somebody might be feeling suicidal? But the point here also is you cannot just take one thing that's happening and then straight away say, the person is suicidal. You got to see a few, and there isn't a real number. Of course, psychiatrists have some kind of criteria, and they say a few of these criteria are filled, then most probably the person is feeling it. But often not necessarily. So you got to see at least a few of these things happening, and then possibly could be sign. You got to put them along with what people are saying, sometimes. So they will often enough give hints, as we saw in the quiz also earlier. They may say things like, nothing matters anymore. Life is not worth living. I can't go on. I wish I didn't have to wake up in the mornings. If I went around, no one would miss me. So these are possible things that they may say. And if you remember earlier, question comes up, are they just trying to be a attention seeker or a drama queen? Absolutely not. Maybe that they are playing, but it's better to guess that they are not playing and they are serious about it, or at least there's some seriousness about it behind it. So maybe if they're saying fully somewhere, you could just laugh it off with them, but then make sure you check also later. Was there anything to it? Other things they could say, you won't be hearing from me again. Life is without meaning. I don't see any point in going on anymore. Nothing will ever change. Nobody cares. So none of these words or phrases are in themselves about wanting to die, but they could be. So that's where the conversation has to go further, where you'll actually check on what they are feeling. So of course, the starting point is, how are you? It's a simple question, especially when you see some of these things happening. What happens with our friends, especially on a more casual basis? What would you think the answer would be? Hi, how are you? Answer? Oh, fine. What do they usually answer? Good, fine, great, okay. Yeah, all cool. Yeah. So don't stop there. That's the point. Don't stop there. So how do you take it further? So they say they're fine, they're good, but you've asked because you noticed something. So feedback what you've noticed. So it'll be the conversation will like, I'm a little concerned about you because when I noticed that you are withdrawing yourself, or I noticed that you're sleeping for a long, long while, excessively, or I noticed that you have no more interest in what you're doing. Some of these signs you see are also what they would say for depression, etc. But you got to see that it could fall, as you saw with what Prof. Philip said, it could go into or from a place of depression also. So it is actually the essential nature of befriending here in a generic word, not befriender scale. So what is that? How do you do it? Respond with unconditional acceptance and respect. I'm going to stop here for a while and think. What does that mean, unconditional acceptance and respect? If somebody tells you something so absurd, ridiculous sounding to you, you got to accept it. You can't say, yeah, no la, cannot be la. No la, that's a small problem. So all of those are non-acceptance. So whatever it is that's troubling somebody, could be what it is, and you have to accept that, and you have to respect that they are entitled to that feeling. You know, we at Befrienders will get calls, and I can say this openly because it's not one person. Somebody's worried about their cat because the cat is not eating properly, may get sick. It's because of all the reasons that they attach to the cat and what the cat means to them in their loneliness or whatever. So if the cat dies, it is quite possible that it is as if it's losing a spouse or a lover, you know. And in the conversation, when you're talking, then these things have to come in. You know? Voice, manner, attitude. Are you looking at them? There's a whole bunch of things there. You know? Are you fully present when you're talking? Not the time to be checking your phone or your watch. No, of course not. No? And then the voice also, softer tone. Not even like how I'm speaking, maybe because I'm running through a long lecture. Huh? So what I'm seeing as simple things to say. Huh? Simple start off. That must have been difficult for you. Of course, this is what after they have told you. So you ask how you, what happened? You sound sad. Yeah, lah, this happened. So then you say, oh, that must have been very difficult for you. Huh? That helps to take the conversation now. You sounds like you've had a hard time, or you had a hard time, huh? Yeah, like that. What does that mean to you that something happened? So these are all possibilities. They're not to be used as a checklist, even though they're in question form. What do you think about what happened, about what she said to you, about what, you know, about failing this test or whatever, you know? Yeah. So you look out for some of these. Then these are the ones that will lead to a deeper conversation, possibly. How do you feel about that? Okay, so now we are warming up to the more heavy stuff. It's okay, terrified, trapped. So if you notice, what are we focusing on? We're focusing on the emotions and the feelings of the person. Yeah, it's not the time, if you really want to help, to be analyzing the practical problem of the person. That means focus on the person, not the problem. Yeah, be people-centered rather than solution or trying to solve the problem. Yeah? It seems that you are angry with your mother. So all these words that come out from you may not have come out from that person. But what it can do for that person is, when you say some of these words or these feelings and they are correct, then they will feel understood. Then it opens them up to release some of the pain, to talk to you about some of the sadness or the pains that they are going through. And also maybe it's for insight for themselves. Yeah? Meaning, you know, they go ranting about something and then say, you must be really furious with your mother. Say, yeah, that's right. I'm angry with her. Okay, something like that. Yeah. So focus on the person, emotions, feelings. Yeah, so here we are on this issue, which is a challenging one, which is not so easy sometimes, but can be done. It takes a bit of doing and then being a little brave to take that step forward. You already know that just asking or talking about suicide is not and cannot plant the thought in somebody's mind. They are already thinking about it or already have thought about it. When you ask or talk about it, it just shows you are taking them seriously and you're allowing them a chance to say or speak about that kind of thing, which is often seen as like a stigma. Don't talk about suicide. Like, come on, don't talk about death. Yeah, don't say about dying or what is that. Yeah, stop being so melodramatic. Even the nicest way, sometimes people will say that don't be so dramatic about it. They may not say drama queen, but some do, isn't it? Huh? Some say that. Okay, so let's look at one of these, getting down again, grinding down to actual ways we will speak. Yeah? So repeat the person's reason for reaching out, then ask about suicide risk by explicitly mentioning care and concern for their safety. So underline this part. So you would say something like, I'm worried about you. I'm concerned at what I'm seeing. So preface, that means start that conversation with them with these kind of things. Then you can go on to ask a little stronger, deeper, searching questions, which will hopefully open up any kind of thoughts or ideation of suicide. Yeah. So let's see this one example of dealing with a breakup, and breakups can be pretty traumatizing for a lot of people. So this is the statement that one could make. after they've already told you the basics of this breakup. Sometimes when people feel like they are always failing, they may have thoughts of ending their life. I want to check if you had any of these, or you have any of these thoughts. I'm worried about you. I'm concerned. So you notice there that already the conversation about suicide is starting here, ending your life. So opens up. So there are ways to lead into it, lead into it slowly, but you need to get to the point where it's clear that it is about ending life, killing self. You could lead into the topic gradually. So you could ask something like, do you feel no one cares for you? This doesn't necessarily mean the person's suicide, but it's a way to move slowly into the topic. Do you feel that life is not worth living? Do you feel that you can't go on anymore? Or others. In a typical workshop, I'll ask people to also think about what are other ways that we said. If you want to think about it, go back to what people said just now. I feel I can't go on anymore. I don't want to wake up. So when they say something like that, then you say, when you say that, what does it mean? Do you mean you can't go on living? Or you don't want to live? Or you want to end your life? So you want to go on to that. So even though you may start with something softer, lighter, which is usually more comfortable for you rather than for the other person, because we are afraid to straight away talk about suicide. It's such taboo still for so many people all over the place. But after you've started to lead into this, do go into the full, clear question about suicide, where the words are not ambiguous about what you're asking. So it may be something like this. With all of your sadness about failure, just want to check about your safety. Have you had any thoughts about death or dying? So something like that. These are not only ways to ask, but some ideas of how you could ask something like this. Okay. Now going down into much more heavier stuff. Maybe, slow down a bit here. So, because the next one is actually pretty heavy stuff here. So just last night, there's this, it was the start of International Clinicians Summit. They call it Clinicians for Suicide Prevention Summit. So in that, they started off the session with the story of, or rather, a person with lived experience. Anyone who knows this term, it means that someone who's actually experiencing what they are talking about is the main topic. So in this case, it's this guy, and someone put the name there, and I'll put up the link in the chat in a little while. Kevin Hines. It's Hines actually. The other one is Kevin Briggs, who's the motorcycle cop on the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Anyway, so Kevin Hines shares his story, talking about for many years, what was happening was he was already exhibiting signs of great distress and depression. He was having schizophrenia, voices disturbing him. He had depression, everything. But wherever he went, whatever he did now, and of course in reflection, nobody talked to him about it. Nobody asked him specifically about it. Often enough, they weren't bad or cruel or anything like that, but they just never approached the topic with him. They never said anything like, hey, you're looking very troubled or very sad. Would you like to talk about it? They didn't ask. He was saying that, people would see him in his pain and nobody would want to touch it. And he felt just either people didn't know, or it's just the attitude of, I just walk on by, I can't deal with this anymore. So part of the thing here, when you are starting to, and I was asked to talk to you, one of the things that's often difficult for the individual is to actually start saying or speaking in this way, in this language, using these words, etc. So I'm going to go back to some of these phrases here, and I want you to, even quietly or just with somebody, if you're sitting with somebody and you said, say it out, because just for the words to come out, sometimes it's difficult, especially when you're asking about this one. So try this. Say it for yourself. Sometimes when someone feels like they're always, think about, will I ask somebody this question? Or will you be like all those people that passed by Kevin Hines and didn't ask the question? So Kevin Hines, of course, goes on, struggles. He had loving people around him, but nobody knew how to talk about it. Nobody knew how to ask these questions. Nobody approached the suicide question, least of all. So he is saying people need to learn how to do that. And he marks out actually 3 big areas. And I'm going to tell 3 big questions. And I'm going to tell you that in a moment. But before that, again, I'm just want to encourage you. It can be scary to ask and to start talking about suicide. Because what happens if people say yes? That is pretty scary. You're hoping, that she's not feeling suicidal, then I'm easier to handle it. But here now we are trying to help you to be stronger and braver with some knowledge about how this works and to be able to ask tough questions. So these are the 3 questions that any suicide prevention thing will say, approach will say. You must at some point ask this person these questions, especially when it is a serious case already, or you get a sense that it is. First of all, we know this already, check on thoughts. And that's what the earlier wordings were. Do you feel like killing yourself? Of course, you can say it in different ways, as I said. Do you feel like you can't go on? Do you feel like you want to end your life? Those kind of things there. Here's where then it becomes a little more complex, but an important thing to do. Check on plan. So thoughts is one thing. So a lot of people will have, just thought came to mind, I think about it, but I don't really have any really plan. So that's good and there. But some people you want to check. Do you have you made any plans to end your life? Do you have an idea of how you're going to do it? Sounds terrible thing to ask, right? Isn't it scary? Because you think are you trying to help the person to plan their own death? Oh, no, that's not the point. Here it is. You want to know where exactly is that person at that time. Yeah. Are they already the next step beyond just thinking, and they are really going? So when they go to this point, it's closer to actually they carrying out the plan, the intention to end their life. Then when they say yes or whatever, maybe as part of what they said, they might tell you the means. That means how or what they're going to do. So in general purposes, usually, other than for maybe clinical settings, we don't talk about the means. That means I'm not going to go run through with you the means. That means the different ways you can kill yourself. Because it could be triggering for somebody who's here or anybody else you talk to. But you go and think of yourselves, the different ways that people are wanting to end their life. And I've just put one, which is more commonly heard of, I suppose. And just as an example, but there are many other means, everything from a certain type of place, a vehicle, a tool, etc., etc. So what do you want to do? Check on whether the person has the means. Depends on the plan. So they say, yeah, I'm planning to go here and do this. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So you say, do you have the whatever it is? Or do you have the keys? Do you have whatever it is with you now? Yeah. Or is what readily available to you? Whatever, you fill in the gaps there. Okay. So what if the person says, yes, I have this, I have that, whatever. So then ask them gently to throw them away. Throw them away or to put it away. Depends on what kind of thing it is. Say to them, let's talk a while. So the conversation, the actual wording may be something to the effect of, could you please just put that aside for a while we talk? Come on, dear, whatever, the name is, dear Mike, please, Mike, just put that away. Or will you just throw it away right now, flush it down, or put it away somewhere where you can't reach it, or step away from that place for a while we talk. Please do that. Give me the chance at least, and I'm concerned about you. So sometimes it may be even pleading that way, but it's worthwhile. So let's just talk for a while. I'm not going to snatch it away from you. But let's just talk for a while. And then hopefully you can bring this up in the conversation. So let's get help together. I'll come with you, or I'll help you find who you can speak to, etc. So not here. Most of you, I don't know, some of you are doing various kinds of psychology courses, but maybe not all. Do not have to take this all the way in terms of dealing with the person beyond this point. But anybody and any general person needs to be able to ask this in some way or another. Because you want to know how imminent, how immediate is the kind of danger or situation that the person may be. And then get them the help right away. Or other protective things they will say. And I think that's going to be dealt with in another session, how to help the person. And it should be bringing up other ways of protecting the person, taking the person to get help. Those things there at the bottom that said, no, get help. There's a whole list of help sources also on our befrienders.org.my website. So on the opening page, there are various kinds of helplines and other helps like psychological services, meaning counseling, etc., etc. Now here's of course the tricky one where sometimes when you say, maybe I'm going into the other topic, but just a bit in case not. The tricky part is that maybe sometimes it is a close friend that says, don't tell anybody, please don't tell anybody, I'm telling only you. But if they are at the brink and at the risk of actually doing it, you want to, even possibly at the expense of the friendship, get them the help that they need. Talk to the people who are either their family or what. But with family, you want to check whether the family itself is part of her stressor, his or her stresses, the cause or at least contributing factor. So then maybe family is not the best. At your age, then you're talking about university counselors, people outside. You're at the age of consent, so you can actually see a mental health professional without anything. So also very important, and this is ending statement of mine, check how you yourself are feeling when this conversation starts. At any point when you yourself are starting to feel anxiety, don't have to go on into the deeper part of asking the actual question full out, using the words like killing yourself or dying or suicide. You want to die by suicide? No. If it's starting to make you yourself nervous and anxious, stop. Enough to say, if the person says, you feel like you cannot go on anymore, and the person say, yeah, okay, and you are already nervous, don't go on to the rest of it. But if you can, then you can try it. And I would suggest that actually you practice it with people who are your own. And I think there are some mock practice sessions planned, I think, for tomorrow. So that's a place to say, but always note, how are you yourself? If you are not in a good place, you will be yourself traumatized and not helpful to the other person. Okay? So do take care of yourself. You need to be in a good place. Good to start the conversation. Have to ask the question somehow, but don't have to go all the way if you yourself are starting to get anxious, etc. Okay, I think that's my time, and I will stop here. And if there's time for questions, or if I can answer those who have mentioned anything in the group. So thank you for your attention, and if there's time, yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. If not, whatever, back to you. I don't know who, Terence or Sharada, somebody. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Justin. So we'll pass it on to Terence. Terence?
Thank you, Sharada. And once again, thank you, Mr. Justin Victor. That is a very insightful presentation. I think at the end of the day, most of the questions we receive is people want to learn how to become a better friend. People want to learn how to become a better parent. And to support, to heal, to love is actually a skill set that you have to learn. Although it might come naturally for some. And I think from what Mr. Victor presentation, we can see how can you best approach and assess the situation. And I'm aware there are a couple of questions over here. Perhaps Mr. Justin, if you have time, maybe we can take up one then.
Yeah, sure. But can you help me find the question? Because,
sure. I would like to read it out for you, perhaps. That would be
sure.
easier.
That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is the question on what if I feel suicidal, but I don't feel the need to open up to my friends. But at the same time, my friends are suicidal as I am. So how can I approach this?
Okay. Again, I think one has to be honest to themselves about what they are able to handle. So if you are suicidal, you're not the best person to help someone else. So maybe at best you can highlight it to somebody else or begin a basic conversation, because once you start going into depth, then some of what the other person says can be triggering to you and can make you also then go further along, that down slippery slope to your own suicidality, So, but then you being that way, then it also helps you to be able to maybe identify more easily someone else who's feeling that way. So then that's what I mean. You can start a basic conversation, maybe just suggest that that person sees somebody, talk to somebody. But back to the person who's feeling suicidal, I don't know, it's their own personal thing. It is very difficult, and maybe not being honest or true to yourself to say that I can keep it in and I don't want to talk to anybody about it. Maybe it's some other thing, like say that you haven't found somebody, or some of your experiences of talking to some people were bad. That might be it, but it's never good to keep it in, because what happens then, it's only you who's festering whatever thoughts, ideas, and feelings that are going on. So sometimes in seeking help also, it's a matter of a bit of shopping, finding the best that fits. And sometimes you have to go to one counselor, doesn't work out, another one. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that answers.
I hope that answered the questions for you. We have one last question, so which is by Peter. May I know how we can approach someone who is in denial regarding their own mental state when they are exhibiting red flags, but in denial? Yep. How do we do that?
Okay, yeah, so that's a common one, because a lot of people will say something like the person just now said. And we have a lot of people actually calling in for other people. That means they will call and say, my brother like this, my mother like that, but she doesn't want to go for help. Or the other way around, the mother calls to say, my son is showing these signs. Obviously he's going to something, but he doesn't want to get help. So what to do? That's a tough situation. I think one of it is how one approaches the other person. Because there's one instance where, I mean, again, it's kind of general, where the person says that I told my brother he's not well, he's mentally ill, you really got to get help, Yeah, and he doesn't want to listen to me. But if you go and tell somebody like that, right off, they're going to be shutting off, So maybe learning how to approach them might be an issue, which means like first you say, I'm concerned about you, you're showing this. So some feedback, maybe it starts, maybe the person still denies. Then you just plead for some kind of, give it a chance. And to call like helplines like ours is good, because then there's no record, there's no, concern about, that I'll be labeled a person with mental illness because I'm not seeking psychiatric help with a record. So you call these helplines where there's nobody, no record, anonymous, completely confidential. Then maybe that can start the conversation. I've actually had people who, for somebody else, they will call, can you speak to so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And then they pass the phone to that person. And that person reluctantly first picks up, like, I don't know, my husband, he wants me to talk to you. I don't really think there's anything wrong. And then I ask a few questions, and then they start talking, and then slowly you see they start to open up. There's one even where the person shouted at the family member, why are you going to call them? Why you tell them about my problem? And then somehow that person forced it, come on, just speak on the phone, just try. And then the person comes, and then suddenly first they complain about the other person, then all their issues start to come up. So that first step is often very difficult for a lot of people to open up, to have the trust that other people are not going to judge you, to put you down. Yeah. And how do they learn that trust? It will be from people like you and me. Yeah? Me, okay, now, online center different. But regular people on the street, if you start doing things right in terms of being non-judgmental, listening, caring, then it make people grow in confidence of wanting or able to share to others. Common thing, somebody who after a lot of trouble calls, they said, how come you didn't call for so long? The person says, yeah, but everybody else I spoke to, the few people I spoke to, they were very bad. They were very bad to me. So I don't have trust to talk to anybody. So, yeah.
All right. With this, thank you for your time, Mr. Justin Victor.
Yes, most welcome. There are several questions, but I'll try and write it while the session goes on. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our facilitators will be
Thank you.
compiling all these questions for Mr. Justin to respond to. And also for tomorrow's session, you might get even more answers tomorrow or different perspective. So right now would be our time for group photo. I know you all has been preparing. So let's take a photo with our guest speaker. Oh, of course, our chairperson, Siti, is still here. That's fantastic. Okay, turn on your camera. Okay, turn
Hi,
on your
Siti,
camera.
hello.
Yeah, there you go. Wonderful. Good to see you all. Kiara, Kong, Joy. Oh, we have a couple of ISKL people here as well. Fantastic. Okay, great. Okay.
Justin, I just wanted to ask you a question. I think it's a parent's perspective since we've got so many young teenagers here. And I'm sure, I don't know whether you hear this from from your parents or whatsoever. Parents tend to sort of threaten some young adults, right? Is that, I've heard words like this. You only realize when I'm dead and gone. Or, I might as well just jump out, or I must just, jump from here rather than to face what you're doing right now. This is not something that I go through when I was a teenager, So parents' pressure is on the young adults. And I think that is also an increasing problem that we are facing. And how do we cope with that? I mean, I think trying to help the teenagers is one, but the parents need help too.
Yeah, definitely that's true, because there are a lot of thinking that any kind of mental health issue has to be a kind of a systemic approach or a familial approach, because there's always some dynamic of the family that has contributed to that or that can help the person get out of it. So some new therapies often insist that if somebody comes to them with this, try and speak to the whole family. On the individual level, I guess if you are among the more enlightened, so to speak, then maybe you need to give, you meaning the young people here,
Yeah.
if you are among the more enlightened here, then maybe you have to just put it down to different experiences, the different kind of backgrounds they have, and we have to break that cycle in a sense, that we don't need to think about things the way that our parents did, the way they disciplined you. Then you learn, if it's not good, then you learn and be aware that that's not the way I'm going to discipline my kids. For the help for the parents itself, that one, it only can be taken as, case by case basis, or, various talks or promotions about parenting and seeing how the effect of what the parent says can have on the child. Also, that's a long brought up issue and growing. So a lot of things people saying is, a lot of it goes back to childhood trauma, whatever people are going through now, depression, various other kind of mental issues, etc. Childhood trauma, big thing. So then, which means the family and parenting are also important areas to look at. Let's speak another half day for that.
Yeah, actually, this is not ending. I mean, if I talk about children, especially young teenagers, I think the challenges are pretty different nowadays than what we went through. So I guess all of you who are here would somehow or rather have some form of engagement in that manner with your parents, right? It's only how far the parent goes to. Thanks.
Yeah. If I may ask of just a few more minutes, if you don't mind, is that okay, Terence? I just want to ask the audience, is there anybody who, and please be honest, that's not convinced that it is okay to ask somebody, are you suicidal? And there's no judgment on you, but it can help in the clarification.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I wasn't really sure about that point either, because I have heard in the past that media representations of suicide have increased suicide rates. So could you explain that a bit?
Yeah, I saw that, and actually it's good that you asked me. You know, one of my portfolios is media, and I've written some stuff on the effects of media and news coverage on suicides. So it's a different thing. That one, what is being said is when there are stories that are poorly written, which show about the kind of means, etc., it can be triggering for somebody who's already thinking about suicide. Then it becomes what they call copycat behavior. That's why the media representations are troublesome. You know, people are not fools where they see only they copy, but if they already had that kind of feeling, this can nudge them over the edge. So that's why they say in the media, for those kind of things, don't. But on a personal conversation, yeah, you bring it up, because then you have the opportunity for the person to speak and you can respond further. It's different from media news coverage. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for all the questions and also the responses. I think to quote something, I think it's Shobana posted something by Fred Rogers, you know, anything that is human is mentionable, anything that is mentionable is manageable. So we are all here trying to become better humans, more effective humans in our roles. So you are all with your background. Okay, my partner Shazwini and I will be taking the photo. So what I want you to do is, it's very boring to look at the cam and take a photo. I want you to put your hands together with a heart sign and we take a photo, right? So except Shazwini and I, you know, everyone put on the heart sign, right? Okay, there you go. All right, 100 of you. Okay, by the count of 3, 2, 1. Okay, let me have a look at page 1. Do I have it? Yes, I have it. Page 2. You never know which page you are at. Hold your heart sign, look at the camera and smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, page 2. Do I have it? Yes, I have page 2. Now going to page 3. I hope Shazwini is keeping up. Look at the camera, smile. 3, 2, 1. Even if you don't feel like it. 3, 2, 1. Okay, there you go. And we are coming to our final page. Right. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay. I've all of it. Shazwini,
You
all
want
good
mini
for
hugs, huh?
Yeah, I have it.
You have it? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so Joshua, can we have the next slide on? Please give your emoji react to Mr. Justin. Thank you. Thank you. It's time to practice Zoom functions. Yeah, there you go. Now you guys are getting good. Okay, what do we have next? So you can all scan the Padlet QR code here. Okay, for the sharing session. We will give you like 30 seconds, do your scanning. Justin, Mr. Victor say thank you all for attending and learning this. Hope you get to practice it in your lives. Exactly. Jamin asks, is there a link to the Padlet? Yes, there you go, Anusha. Shobana, quick work, guys, quick work. That's great, that's great. So you can also click if you can't scan. Okay, with this coming up next, I would like to invite my partner, Sharada, to tell you what is in place on day 2. What can you expect for day 2, right? I mean, day 1 is already this good. What can you see on day 2? Sharada, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Terence. So I think Joshua has a video there that he would like to be playing for us, but that will be played shortly right after I give you guys a brief intro on what we've done so far and what we're expecting for the coming few days, for the coming day. I would like to once again thank our guests, DG Bindi, PTG City, our amazing speakers, Prof. Dr. Philip, Mr. Justin, MMOF team, and all of our lovely participants for spending your afternoon with us. Day 1 beautifully paved the pathway for suicide conversations. We started off with a film screening, a fun game of myth busting, and went on for a comprehensive guide on what we should say. I understand that to some, the last session by Mr. Justin could have been quite heavy, but it was very necessary for us to learn the correct things to actually say, because most of the time, we are not really sure of how we should respond. And let's be honest here, when you ask your friend, how are you feeling? I'm sure 99% of us would just hope for the answer to be, I'm good, because we're trying to avoid having this conversation altogether. This is what we strive to do in MindMatters Network. We wish to bring mental health education to all schools, colleges, and universities in Malaysia through interactive sections, workshops, trainings, exhibitions, and festivals. We at MindMatters Network wish to change the outlook of mental health landscape in Malaysia. If you're interested to learn more about what we do or just to collaborate with us, you can always drop us an email. It is an association by youth, for youth, guided by the professionals, supported fully by the National Coalition of Mental Wellbeing. Let us together understand, empathize, and destigmatize. So moving on to day 2, we are looking forward to see you as we take what we have learned today in day 1 and try it hands-on. So join us as we have a chill conversation with Dr. Elvin, addressing the issue of how do you deal with your own turmoil while having these suicide conversations with your close ones. We also have 9 trainers who have volunteered. They're all professionals who are willing to help us out in breakout rooms where you'll be divided into small groups and you will actually try out what we have already learned today. So let's get feedbacks from these professionals of how we should respond or what we should say when you're put into a situation and you're at loss for words. We'll also be having a Q&A session. So if you have any questions that you could not get the answers to today, please don't be shy. Please drop us a message and we'll get back to the questions tomorrow. You can also drop me an email and whatever questions you bring up will just be between you and me. You'll remain anonymous. So you don't have to be afraid about that. Joshua has compiled a beautiful video summarizing day 1 and showing us what's up for day 2. So let's go for the presentation next. Thank you everyone once again. And we hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you to the amazing team as well that has put in such hard work. Actually, it would be quite a surprise to the participants here today, but this entire event came up within 1 week. So the team just came together and all of them very lovely, passionate, enthusiastic people who have worked until 4 a.m. in the morning to bring to you these symposiums. So we really hope that you gained a lot and we can see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Joshua. It's back to you.